description, but I wanted to ask, in your opinion, what makes a good leader? How do you define leadership in your view?
Yeah. So yeah, there's two questions in there, like what makes for a good leader, or like what's the best characteristic, and then also, how would you define it? I guess, one of the things I go back to when it comes to defining it, I think at its very core, at its very base, is when you've made that choice. And I love what you guys talked about it in your leadership podcast when I was listening to it. I think it was you that Justin that brought it up, was that leadership is not a position, it is not a title, it is not a rank. It is, I mean, if there's one word to sum it up, it is a choice. You choose to be a certain way. And that certain way to be is if you've made that decision where you are going to care for the livelihood of somebody else, you're going to take on that responsibility to care for what it is that they need. You have chosen leadership. And, of all the leadership, books I've read, and I would say I'm pretty much a leadership junkie and nerd. And I've read tons of books, read tons of articles and magazines, and listened to podcasts and gone to conferences. But what's really interesting is if and I think you guys would probably say the same thing, of all the classes you've been to or books you've read, none of them have ever really defined, or at least said, where the word lead really comes from. And in my book, The Arch, A Framework for Leadership in Life, I really wanted to hone that in. And it's kind of interesting. The word lead comes from the old Saxon word leolon, or lethon, and what it really means is to travel. And when you think about it, that's what leadership really is. It's about movement. How do I get you to go from point A to point B? Not because I commanded it or demanded it, but because
Right.
you want to. So that would be like how I would first define it. And then the next thing was like, what's like one of the best characteristics and one of the best key behaviors, I would say, when it comes to leadership?
Good looks.
Which you've nailed it, Shane.
Oh, why,
Every
thank you.
last bit of it.
Oh my gosh. Stop it.
In addition to good looks, the number two, no, I would say it would be humility. I mean, as human beings, we are so repelled by arrogance. We know it when we see it.
Mhm.
We know when somebody's leading with ego. And but yeah, humility. But humility is like, it's, when I talk about humility, it's not about like thinking less of yourself. Um, it's just thinking of yourself less. C.S. Lewis is the one who said that really, really well.
Like that.
And I think your best humility is what I would call confidence-based humility. And in other words, you're confident in what you know. You're confident in what you don't know, and you're confident in who you are and who you're not, and what your strengths are and what your what your weaknesses are, and those things that I don't have. I'm confident enough to surround myself around the people that do have those skills, that do have those talents,
Yep.
because there's no way I as a leader can be everything that a leader needs to be. That's what a team is for. And you aren't a leader unless you got a team, unless you've got a team of people following you. And then your job is just, again, is to move them, to get them to travel to where they ought to be.